All right, so handling the haters is something that we all need to talk about, right? I think, especially today with social media, this has been something that really goes along with anyone that's going out and pursuing something to be more, to do more, to achieve more, to contribute more. One of the things that you can expect is people to try to stop you. And the reason I'm saying that is because I think there's many different components that we can talk about today. And I think it's something that anyone that gets the courage up to go for it, to do something significant with their life, they need to know and they need to know what to expect. And the reason I'm saying that is because I think most people, regardless of where you're at financially, where you are within your own peer group, we all find this level of comfort. We all kind of settle into this box of mediocrity. And the minute you step out of your box of mediocrity and you start growing, you're starting to want to do more, there's going to be people around you that are going to be scared to death, right? And they're going to try to pull you back. We've all heard that. It's a lot easier to tear down somebody's building rather than build your own. And I think that the number one thing that I want to get across in this podcast is how to deal with that, how to approach that. And there's many situations that all of us, really can embark on, especially in today's world where, you look at the political climate, I think has been more divisive and more, if you want to say, explosive than ever before, to socioeconomic matters, to what's going on with the Black Lives movement, Black Lives Matter movement, is, I think, for each and every one of us, number one is you have to be confident in who you are, right? I think that's very, very important. And I think that the two things that I think is super important, and I talked about this whenever COVID hit, is that the two main things that you have to lead with always, I think, to be a great leader, especially in today's world, whether it's political, whether it's in business, whether it's in personal, is you have to learn to listen. There was a guy that was a mentor of mine. He was out of New Orleans. He invented the T1 Turtle syringe. It was a life-saving device. And I'll never forget when I met him, he said, "Hey, listen, young man, you have two ears and one mouth. You have to listen twice as much as you speak." And I kind of laughed. I didn't understand what it meant at the moment. And then he went ahead and talked to me for the next 2 hours without taking a breath. But no, in all sincerity, the two main components for dealing or handling the haters, I think, number one is first and foremost, if you're a leader, lead today, or you're pursuing or you're wanting to step up and level up your leadership, lead with a sympathetic ear and an empathetic heart. I think that you have to today. I think there's too many people that having your passion for your views is great, but I don't believe the way to win that over is through force or through conflict. I think the best way to win people over today is through love and bridging through, being smart and aligning and listening to them first. And so I think when you're talking about handling the haters, whether it's on social media, whether it's in real life, whether it's protest or whatever it might be, and I literally just had to deal with this just the other day. As I sent a post out and someone disagreed with the post, or maybe they misunderstood it, and that's something that is a life lesson that I've had for the last 20 years, is when something can be misunderstood, it will. But if you fire back at someone that's opposing your view, you might not ever put yourself in their shoes to understand what they misunderstood. So sometimes you have to align with them and redirect their focus. So I think handling the haters is something that all of us are going to have to deal with if we're pursuing greatness, or we're pursuing better, or we're doing something that matters. How you handle the haters is up to you, but I would suggest handling them with empathy first, right? Because the reality of it is, if you're looking at social media, which I think the majority of haters show up on social media today, is if you're getting haters, that's a sign that you're making waves, right? You're creating a statement. But what I would tell you is that most of these people that are hating on you on social media, do they really even know you? I mean, that's what you have to ask. Do they know you? No, they might even have a different perspective of what you meant by your post. So you have to be, number one, empathetic. Number two, I think you also have to be willing to let some things go. You can't just create conflict with everyone, because sometimes what I think that does is it creates. I'm not saying shy away from conflict, but I think that you have to lead with love. So those would be the two components that I would say is the best way to handle haters. Is number one, be empathetic, because if someone is putting you down or they're spending a lot of time trying to tear your building down, it's because they're unhappy with their building. They're unhappy with where their life is. Or maybe it's someone close to you in a peer group. They're just scared to death that you're outgrowing them and you're leaving them. So try to be empathetic where they're at. And then number two, lead with love. Like, love them anyway. And I think that you're going to be able to grow a lot further faster and not get caught into an emotional down current or undertow if you fight it. And so, love them anyway and keep moving forward towards what you're passionate about. And that's what I would deal with, handling the haters. It's something I've dealt with my whole life. I tell a story that, my dad lived vicariously through me. And whenever I was 16, I was very privileged and spoiled rotten. I always knew where it came from, and I was always super grateful. But he bought me a Corvette. That was his favorite car. It became our favorite car together. And so think about it, 16-year-old kid driving a Corvette around. I had a date. The girl's name was Robin. I'll never forget. And I went in, and her dad persecuted me. Combative. Must be nice driving a Corvette, right? Who do you think you are? Just completely. And I'm 16 years old. I don't know how to deal with it emotionally, but that was a hater, right? It had nothing to do with me driving a Corvette. It didn't make me a bad person, and I didn't know how to deal with it. And I remember after the date going home and telling my dad about it, and he said, "You tell him to piss off." He said a few other choice words. He said, "But I work just as hard for my dollar as he does for his. Is don't ever be ashamed of where you are, where you come from, or what you have. And to take that one step further, don't ever be ashamed of what you don't have, right? It's not where you're at, it's where you're going. And don't compare yourself to others, because anyone that's had a level of success, anyone that is doing something that you can find strength in or inspiration in, give them credit, because I can promise you, when you peel back the onion, that there's a price that's been paid. There is never anyone that's achieving something that you're viewing that is inspiring you, that there's not a receipt to it, meaning you just might not know all of the details of that receipt. So the point being is, if you lead with love, and you let yourself be inspired and you have empathy, you realize that you are very similar to whoever it is that you might start putting down. And so the whole saying of, remember, when you point your finger at someone, there's 4 fingers pointing back at you. I think that goes along with haters. Also, the best way to handle a hater is not to be a hater, right? So I think all of us have had, probably times in our lives where we've hated on something or we've been jealous of something. But remember, you have everything that you need in you. You live your life. You go pursue your journey. It's your journey, and everyone's journey is different. And so hopefully that helps. Lead with a sympathetic ear and empathetic heart. Always have empathy when handling the haters, and lead with love. So hopefully that helps you guys. This is just a short little rant. As I was dealing with some haters the other day, it made me realize, hey, listen, they're not hating on me in particularly. They're unhappy. They're frustrated. They're confused. So have empathy. And understand where they're coming from, and love them anyway. So hopefully this helps. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be tuning in, be coming up with a lot more content really, really soon. So thank you guys. Continue to be you with Be You. Talk to you all soon.